Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hello, everyone, and welcome to This is Football. Welcome to our third recap, ladies and gentlemen. We're here to talk about Manchester United today. We recapped the Arsenal season yesterday. We recapped the Chelsea season yesterday. We spoke about both clubs. And today, the third club on the recapping menu, the reviewing menu, is Manchester United today. As you guys saw in the videos yesterday, we speak transfers, we speak on the pitch results, we speak a little bit of off the pitch drama. With Man United, I've got to be a bit more careful with the drama, so we're only going to be talking about the Sancho related stuff. So that's basically what we're going to be talking about. Big up to everyone who's in the chat. We ain't even started yet. There's already around 200 people in here. Make sure you're liking the video. Make sure you're subscribing to This Football if you're ready to do so. Every single person watching us right now or on the replay, because I know a whole lot of you guys like to watch us on the replay. Please don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to This is Football if you're ready to do so. Big up to David, who's already sent in a super chat. Says, Husam, please ask Terry what he ranks Bruno among midfielders in the league. I think he's not good enough for United, to be honest, let alone captain. Hit the like button. We're going to speak about Bruno, David, so stick around, my brother. Thank you so much for telling them to hit the like button, because you guys need to hit the like button. This is the international break. Slap up them likes. Subscribe to This is Football. And let me introduce today's panelist. First of all, big up Vel for the unbelievable thumbnail he's making for these reviews. Unreal thumbnail work there from Vel, my guy. So today, joining us on the Man United review is a guy who actually hasn't been on the channel in a long time, because he's a hardworking man. The work rate is there, the passion and the desire is there. So very hardworking guy. So today we managed to get him on for the Man United review. As you guys know, you see me with him every Friday on the terrace on Straight Facts. And look, very knowledgeable when it comes to the game, when it comes to his own club, when it comes to all of the things in world football. And if you don't know where the terrace is for some God knows what reason, hit the description. You'll find the link to the terrace. Make sure you go subscribe. Of course, joining us on the channel is man like Terry Flewers. How you doing, Terry, man?
I'm good, bruv. I'm good. I don't get to collaborate on other channels as much as I'd like, but I love it because there's no planning, no prep. I just get to sit here and answer questions. It's beautiful. It's a thing of beauty. It's
It's the reverse of what will happen tomorrow, because tomorrow you'll be asking me questions and I'll be answering.
Yeah, exactly,
so today,
exactly.
Yeah, you're here to answer questions. So let's just get into it, people. Make sure you guys are smashing them likes. Make sure you guys are subscribing. Big up David for the super chat. Let's just get to it. Transfer window. That's where we start every review, because I know it ended a week ago, but it feels like not so long ago we were talking about transfers. Me and Terry, we were doing straight facts at the start of the window, and the conversations were Kim Min-jae and Harry Kane, and it was a totally different world. But these are the transfers for Man United. It was Mount, Hojlund, Onana, Bayindir, the backup goalkeeper, Amrabat, that they signed on deadline day, Johnny Evans and Reguilon on loan. The outs, the significant outs, if you would like, are Henderson, Elanga, Fred, and Telles, basically to the Saudi League. So, Terry, what are your thoughts on the Man United transfer window in general?
We'll get all the bad stuff out of the way first. I think that's the best thing to do. So, not enough players gone. The fact that we didn't support the manager by getting rid. I mean, Donny van der Beek might still go out on loan as an example, but Donny's still here. Martial, Maguire, those players bare minimum should have been out the door. I would have liked McTominay gone and a replacement in for him as well. So in terms of getting people out, the Glazers and their employees, the likes of Richard Arnold, I think it's Richard Arnold. I don't know why I forgot his name. These guys fouled massively in terms of the outgoings at the club, horrendously poor. In terms of the signings, so backup goalkeeper, I'm not really. This is how I treat all clubs. I don't really take the signing of backup goalkeepers as real signings. I just see them as meh, just great. I'm not reviewing it. So yeah, great, well done. We need a backup, got one. The Reguilon signing, look, it's because we lost two of our two left backs to medium-term injuries right at the end of the deadline window. This wasn't a player we were targeting or really wanted or see as the future. It's just a stopgap because of those injuries, and it's likely, if they're both back fit, in January that loan gets terminated. So it's not a bad body to fill in that position. But we saw Delo play there the other day against Saka, one of the best right wingers in the league, and he personally did a very good job. So I'm okay with that signing. When it comes to the four main purchases, massive question marks over Mason Mount. This is a deal that the manager has to get right, because it will be one that really goes against him if it fails, very much as Anthony currently is going against him from a footballing point of view. And we might touch on the other stuff later. So I'm skeptical hugely on Mason Mount. However, the signing of Onana, I think, is going to be brilliant. I know there's a lot of criticism right now, 7 goals conceded in the first few games. I don't personally put those goals being conceded down to him per se. Maybe he could have done better with Declan Rice's shot that deflected, but deflected shots are deflected shots. I think Rasmus Hojlund's going to be a star for Man United. I think he'll be very good this season, and I think he'll grow into potentially being an absolute star. We saw when he came on against Arsenal, the difference in our play compared to Martial being on the pitch, and that was a very short cameo. Again, away from home against one of the best teams in the league. So I'm really excited about that deal. And Amrabat, listen, I don't know why we did it last. The execution was awful, but I think he's a top player. I think he's an individual that everybody wanted. I saw Chelsea fans, Liverpool fans, Arsenal fans, all of them from the World Cup to the end of the season, especially after how well he played in that Conference League final. Everybody was like, I want him. I want him. Grizz Khan came for me the other day, basically saying he's trash. But then I was sent a nice little DM of a screenshot of him laying down in the park, Grizz, saying, me waiting for anyone to talk badly about Amrabat. So these people, like, you rated him as well, Mr. Grizz Khan. I know you're probably watching. I know you love Sam. So it's it's one of them ones, you know what I'm saying? So for me, the Amrabat, game changer for Man United. He will make our midfield exponentially better. Hojlund, the same thing. Onana as well. But we just didn't bring enough players in. For me, Mount should have been somebody else. I don't know who right now, but it should have been somebody else. I would have preferred Gravenberch over Mason Mount as an example. And if we had more exits, then I would have liked a good quality centre-back to come in. We couldn't get Kim. The likes of Tadibo we could have gone after Pavard potentially. If we'd have got all the business the manager wanted done, then I'd be happy. So for the poor execution, one of the 4 main signings I'm not too keen on, and the lack of exits, I'd probably score it a 5 out of 10 overall, because there is some really good players in there and I don't want to put them down. But again, still nowhere near the level I expect from a club with our resources, our size, and our money.
I love the fact here's the thing with the whole Mason Mount thing. Terry's been actually quite consistent when it comes to the Mason Mount situation, and rightfully so, because it's the same thing for me as well with the Havertz situation, the Mount situation. When you make signings like that, they have to work out. It's as simple as that. They've got to work out. The Amrabat thing, it's funny because I was having this conversation with my subscribers on a Liverpool show, and we were talking about it, and I was like, you know what it is? If we're talking from a logical perspective, just purely logically, it would have made more sense for Man United to sign Gravenberch and Liverpool to get Amrabat, because we probably needed a DM more, and I think you probably maybe needed an 8 more than you needed a DM, but someone maybe who's a bit more complete like a Gravenberch. So I think with the transfer window, the one thing I do want to ask you about, though, is at the start of the window, because I did mention it earlier on, you know, we were having conversations about Kim Min-jae, Harry Kane, etc. Do you think that was just gaslighting from your club or the PR or etc., or do you think there was genuine interest but the execution was poor?
So I think we wanted Kim. I think he just chose Bayern Munich, which is fair. Bayern Munich are a giant club as well, and they're in a better position to challenge for their league title and for the Champions League than we are. So you have to take that on the chin. That's what happens after a decade of failure. With Harry Kane, there was interest, but we were priced out of that move. They were talking 120s at the beginning of the window. What my hope always was, and I was very specific with this, Man United, after the first 2 weeks of the window, publicly stated they won't be going back in for him, and we never did. I was saying, as a Man United fan, what I was hoping for is if we got rid of all those players I mentioned in sales, we'd have raised the money to maybe go back in for him. But it became elementary because we didn't sell the players to raise the funds that were needed, so it didn't matter. So I don't think it was gaslighting. I think it was very much a case of one player rejected us and the other was just, we were priced out of that move. And then we went for Rasmus Hojlund, and you could argue with the players we did sell, if we hadn't signed Rasmus Hojlund, we could have got Kane, but Man United wanted both. And I don't think we're going to be disappointed with Hojlund. I actually believe throughout the course of this season, Man United fans are going to like this kid a lot. I saw a comment earlier saying, what do you mean he's a star? I said, he's going to be a star. I didn't say he was a star now. So be very careful with I'm very careful with my words. He will be a star for Man United. So I'm happy about that signing.
Okay, okay. Big up to Abdullah who says Zalmat Habib Galbi Abdullah. Big up to you. Thank you so much for the super chat. Big up to Michael Talks who says Hojlund has a lot of good traits to be a great striker, but he's young and will be under pressure to deliver since United's attack isn't the best.
Yeah, he will be under pressure, and I think that Man United fans have got a habit of killing players. We do it. We always expect them to. So I'll talk about Amrabat, and I think he's a game changer. But if you go back to the tweets that I put out, I said a game changer who will improve our midfield. I haven't said he's a game changer that's going to make us champions of England. Again, people will pick and choose which words to take out of a tweet or out of a sentence. If any Man United fans think that he's going to put us above City in the league this year, or he's going to outscore Haaland, you're an idiot. You're a fool. You're actually lying. You're probably setting these expectations so you can moan about him later. That's typically what people do now. But he will have a good season. I have individual expectations for players and then a collective one for the team. I expect us to improve on last year, but I don't expect Hojlund, to be the best striker in the Premier League yet, because I don't think he's ready for that. So you can have multiple expectations at the same time. I think it would be a stupid thought process to go right, he's got to be as good as the best strikers in the world year one at Man United just because he's a Man United player now. That's stupid for me.
I agree with you. I think there were signs there against in the Arsenal game, which we'll get into later on. Like the pace and power is there, and people don't like it, but the pace, power, and is very important in the English Premier League, and it's just that's just a reality. You need pace and power in the league. And before we get to the football pitch, I want to ask you one more question off the football pitch. Rashford Ballon d'Or nomination. Not on the top 30. It's been a subject of conversation last 24 hours between Man United fans, Man United spaces, etc. I don't know what do you make of it?
There was two players that were omitted from that list. Rashford and John Stones. I thought both of those names not being on there, considering other names. So considering Kim Min-jae is very good, but John Stones for me had a superior season to him as a defender. Rashford, 30 goals, 11 assists, 1 trophy, an FA Cup final, joint top goal scorer at the World Cup for England, had a good World Cup, should have come on earlier against France. I think to not be in that 30 is outrageous. The same with John Stones, especially when I see people like Lautaro Martinez's name on there, who I know he won the World Cup because he was part of that Argentina squad. But I think about Lautaro Martinez's season and think, barring the fact that he scored goals in a Champions League that Rashford wasn't in, I don't see how he did as much. And listen, Odegaard's in there and rightfully so, and Saka's in there. They weren't in the Champions League. Odegaard wasn't even at the World Cup. They didn't win anything. They were in a title race. But yeah, I thought it was wrong for Rashford to not being there. I don't think he deserved to win the Ballon d'Or. I probably wouldn't even put him in the top 10 on that list. But top 30 should have been there 110% for me.
It was actually more I actually argued for Rashford today. And it was Man United fans who argued against them when we spoke earlier on.
It depends what Man United fans you speak to. So there's a lot of very butthurt United fans at the minute who they either used to be or still are Martial FC. They're in love with Sancho, and because Sancho's not working and he's getting a lot of criticism, what these Man United fans typically tend to do is attack someone like Rashford, and they kind of take their frustration out on him. It's bad energy. I'm not liking some of the. I'm going to probably talk about it more. I'm not going to talk about it in this show, and I'm definitely going to be talking about it on Straight Facts with Big Steve later. I'm not really a fan of some of the stories I've seen today come out about Jadon Sancho. Some really bad energy, talking about, he was a little bit shy or a little bit moody on a preseason media event a year ago. I'm sitting there thinking this sort of nasty PR from the Glazers to kind of protect themselves and the club again, I'm not about. But what I don't do is I don't want that bad energy. So what I don't do is then perpetuate that bad energy by putting that same negativity towards another player. I want to raise those standards up. And we've seen it before with England. We'll see Raheem Sterling get abused by the media. And people defending Raheem Sterling, instead of saying I want everybody to be treated brilliantly like Harry Kane is, their action is I want Kane to be treated horribly as well. I don't understand. I've seen people like that are either really hurt or really cruel. Does that make sense? I think you're a really hurt person or you're a really cruel person to go, right, I'm not happy with how my favorite player's being treated, so I want somebody else to be treated badly as well. It's a very weird logic to have in this world for me.
They were arguing Kolo Muani over Rashford, and I just asked someone to name 3 Frankfurt players, and the whole space went silent for 45 seconds.
Listen, Rashford had a better season than him, and this is the thing, right?
He did. Right. He really did.
The thing. Has he gone to PSG? He's gone PSG, right?
Yeah, he has. But he has done this summer. Yeah.
PSG wanted Rashford before him. Like if right now you could say, listen, Magic one time PSG, you can have Rashford instead, they'd buy him. Listen, sometimes I would love Rashford to leave Man United and to see how well he would do at another top club, a Barcelona, a Real Madrid, a PSG, a Bayern, just so Man United fans could feel that pain. The only Man United fans that really attack him, it's all about people's ideology or their opinions not turning out right. And a year ago, you were in the spaces with me. A lot of them were your spaces. Donny, Martial, these guys were all going to ball out under Ten Hag, and Rashford and Bruno, and these men were going to be dead. They're never going to win us anything. Bruno and Rashford had probably their best seasons for Man United, won us trophies, the team progressed, and the other guys have massively faded away. Instead of just going, yeah, I got it wrong, any little opportunity they get to attack these guys, they do. It's just such bad energy, bad-minded, cruel people for me. It's weird. I feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for these people. Like, they just need hugs. They need big hugs.
Listen, from time you can name 3 Frankfurt players. I know you're just chatting shit, to be honest with you. 2 of my favorite streamers. Keep doing what you're doing, guys. Big love. Big up to you, Hassuni. Thanks so much for the super chat. Thanks so much for all the love you've shown me as well, my bro. And big up to you. Big up to Abdullah says, in all honesty, Haaland should win it, but unfortunately, it's just a popularity contest. I don't think here's the thing. I don't want to get into the whole Ballon d'Or convo because it's in October 30th. I know the nominees have come out and stuff, but it's still a long ass time from now. My thing is, I don't like the rubbing out of Messi like he doesn't deserve it. I think you could argue both deserve it, but as someone who thinks Messi is the GOAT, of course I want him to win it. And Argentina did win the World Cup. And whether we like it or not, since the start of history, the Ballon d'Or votes always get skewed by a World Cup competition. Or, by the way, or international football in general. If a team win the Euros and a guy scores 15 goals in the Euros, he's always gonna rank high, or if not win it. We saw it with Jorginho. When Italy won the World Cup, people were like, oh yeah, Italy won the Euros. People just said that.
Can I ask you a question? Because Lee Gunner says this quite a lot. He says that since Messi broke into the Barca team, he's been the best player in the world every year and should have won it every single season. And there's a lot of people that share that knowledge that just because somebody has a really good 12 months doesn't make them better than Lionel Messi. He's still the best irrespective. I'm like, I sometimes look at it as who's had the best. Is it again, maybe the definition needs to be redefined. Is it the best technical football player in the world, irrespective of his performances and achievements? Because if it is, then there's no point in having the award. Or is it the person who had the best season? So, and there's lots of factors in that, trophies, goals.
No, I don't agree with the Liga. I don't agree. Ronaldo deservedly won Ballon d'Ors, and the Modric one, he should have won. I've always said that. I'm not a guy, I will never be a guy, because funny enough, you just described it earlier on with the Rashford topic. I will never be a guy who will say Ronaldo's shit, Ronaldo this, Ronaldo that. I've also never been the guy to say anyone else other than Ronaldo is second. I think if you put, like, here's the thing. People like, look, nostalgia is a thing. I understand some people grew up on Ronaldinho, on R9, etc. But I'm not just going to push everything Cristiano done to the side just to act like it just never happened. My GOAT is Messi, and it's because for me, I've never been like nitpicky with it. I always said it's because he's simply the best I've ever seen in my entire life. My entire lifetime, since I grew up till today, the best football player I've seen alongside everything he's done in the game is Lionel Messi. So that's my thing. But do I agree with Lee that he should have won it every single year? Absolutely not. Cristiano Ronaldo deserved to win the Ballon d'Or as many times as he did. And he deserved to win one extra one, actually, the Modric one, which we know he didn't win for the political ones. Why can't I wait for the Man United game? Allergies, December, inshallah. Anfield, my brother, is about to be lit. I'm telling you, that game right there, I genuinely can't wait for it.
I'm not even thinking about that far ahead right now.
Yeah, of course they both deserve it, but come on, you win a treble and the top player of that team doesn't win it. It's crazy. Argentina was stacked with talent. People usually say the reverse, Abdullah. People usually say Man City is stacked with talent. And the one argument I always say with Haaland, Igal actually makes this valid point, which is crazy. But when Igal makes a valid point, you need to listen because it's like really valid. Thing is, City players are gonna take votes off each other. That's the thing. Maybe one guy thinks Rodri deserves the Ballon d'Or. Maybe one guy thinks KDB does. Maybe one guy thinks Haaland does. So.
And this was the issue when it came to Man United in the 90s and early noughties, both Premier League and in terms of the Ballon d'Or. I think the year after we won the treble, I want to say Beckham came third or second. I don't quite remember.
Beckham was second. Keane was sixth.
There we go. There were so many players to choose from. If you've got a team that isn't quite winning anything or winning some domestic trophies and they've got one player that stand out, it's easier for that player to get votes because they're the standout best. You suddenly have a situation where you've got 4, 5, 6, 7 players of that level. Messi was always different in that Barca team because no matter how good Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets, these guys were, Messi was just levels above them. And there was no one in that 99 team that was exponentially that much better than everybody else. They were just all, not all of them, but a lot of them were just very, very good. So you are right, that can happen. But look, for me, it's going to go to Messi, the Ballon d'Or. I would personally give it to Haaland. And the reason I would give it to Haaland is because he achieved, listen, Messi won a World Cup, which is amazing. But lots of good players have won World Cups and lots of average players have not average players, but like there have been people that have had good World Cups that aren't the greatest players in the world. I've seen Klose has had brilliant World Cups. He's never been the best player in the world, right? And that's taking nothing away from Messi. But Haaland came to England and I think he broke pretty much every single goal-scoring record that had existed in his first year. Records that have stood for 900 years, this man broke. And he's still breaking them now, and we're still in the Ballon d'Or cycle, right? Because it's a 12-month period. And you're looking at a situation where he has broken records that nobody else, listen, Henry's, Shearer's, Kane's, Rooney's, Cantona's have got nowhere near. He's breaking goal-scoring records like no one's ever done in English football. Right now, I believe English football is the hardest league to ply your trade in, and he's doing it here. I would give it to Haaland if it was me. I know he's not the best technical footballer, but I don't think that's what the Ballon d'Or award's about. I think it's.
But for me, it's not even about the technical thing. You know what my genuine argument against Haaland is? He has 0 goals or 0 assists, which is how he impacts the game, and I've got no problem with that, in any semi or final, in every single competition. That's something that we've got to be real works against him. And if we sat down 100 City fans, maybe some of them would say Rodri was the better player for City. Maybe some will say KDB, etc. So some might even say Gundogan, actually. So, like...
That's a great point. That's another reason Rashford should be there. I swear he scored in the final, but there we go. It's one of them things,
I do agree Rashford should be there. I do agree
no,
Rashford should be there.
I know. But in the cold, hard light of day, you know my stance on these player awards. I don't really care. Like, it's one of them. It's nice if someone's there, but like I saw it last night, and I was like, I think it's wrong they're not in there. But it's not something I'm going to lose any sleep over. Whoever wins it, I'll just sort of go, well done, and then I'll get on with my life. It is what it is, really. But yeah,
I hear you. The guy who broke the goals record in his first season, he got subbed off so he would break Messi's record. Listen, we love what Erling Haaland's done, Abdullah, and we clap for him. I see you're an Arsenal fan as well, so you're being unbiased, but Messi is the GOAT and he won the World Cup. Whether we like it or not, in sports in general, not just football, there's something called storyline. And I love when storylines come through, unless it's Man United or any rival. I do love when stories happen. And as soon as I saw Messi win the World Cup in Qatar, I'm like, yep, he's going to win the Ballon d'Or. Just checking my calendar. I have 2 exams that day. One of them during the game. I'm sorry about making myself sick that day. I can't miss the game. Just quickly, allergies. I promise I'm not even capping, bro. When I was at uni, I made so many fucking excuses to just watch Liverpool if there was like an important game or something during the day or during some of my lectures. I still remember, like, I actually one time I had to convince a professor that my car wouldn't start. I actually brought him a piece out of like one after I fixed my car. I keep my old pieces, so I just brought him my old piece. I'm like, here, see the proof. This whole thing didn't start, so I couldn't come. So I did craziness to do that. Big up to Tyler Jones with the big super chats. Make sure. Chat, you're spamming W's for my guy Tyler, who says big up Terry, the guy who gets 0 bitches, and then he says, nah, on a real note, Terry brings on all the football content creators before they blow up and gives them more exposure. Listen, I've always been real about Terry, and I know that Terry's a real person, he's a genuine person. And listen, Terry is the reason, and this is a side note that got nothing to do with Man United. Terry's the reason why you never judge someone by what other people tell you. You never judge someone by what anyone else tells you. You deal with that person and you make up your own argument. I've worked with Terry on the terrace now for almost 2 years. And my first video, I still remember, was before Chelsea at Anfield, Lukaku, where I said, I guarantee Lukaku won't score at Anfield. Ever since then, Terry has shown me nothing but respect and love, and it's been vice versa. And he's a great guy, man. I think, look, some people try to like slander certain people online or change their reputation, etc. Terry, for me, based on personal experience, is someone I will definitely vouch for. I picked him up personally on the 20k subs video. I picked up so many people who actually helped me get to the stage, and he's even answered questions like regarding YouTube, regarding football content creation. He's someone I definitely have massive respect for. So big up to you, Tyler, man. Thank you for the love.
Yeah, I appreciate that as well. I think it's interesting. I know I've helped a lot of people. I don't do it for, I don't know why I do it. I just do it because it's how I am as a person. And I look at Leah's as an example. Leah's made one of his first YouTube appearances ever on Friday night on the terrace 2 years ago. Look what he's doing now. The guy was on Sky the other day. Like, the guy's doing better than me. And I'm like, rah. But listen, the way I look at it is this: if you do good things for people at some point in your life, that karma will come back round. And it may not be instant. And you've got to, I always say to people, like, I jokingly message people privately. I never say it publicly where I'm like, don't forget about me. But I know at some point these people will help me out and do something for me. And that's great. But don't ever do it for that reason. It will happen organically if you're a good person. So just allow these things. Don't do things for people with the expectation you're going to get something back. It will happen. You'll get something back in one way, shape, or form. But you just got to let these things happen. And listen, always be yourself. And sometimes yourself will annoy people. But as Husam said, judge people by how they treat you and not by what others say, because that's a big learn. That's been a big learn in my life as well. I've heard a lot of things said about a lot of people. You chill with them, you talk to them, you're like, oh, he's all right, you know, or she's cool.
Yeah.
Not like I thought, but yeah, it is what it is. It is.
Hey, if you want to go by what other people say, guys, you wouldn't be here, because I'm as big as a troublemaker as they come on this whole YouTube thing. So let's not even go there. Thanks so much, Tyler, man. W's chat for Tyler. Big up to Doug, who says, big up Simon Terry. If everyone's fit, what's Manchester United's best 11? What are United's expectations this season, Terry? Doug, stick around, because now we've done the transfers, we've done all of that. I do want to talk on the football pitch, so stick around and you'll get your answer, my brother. And speaking of sticking around, big up everyone who's here. 600 people are in the building. Make sure you're all slapping the like buttons. Make sure you're all subscribing. Meet me at halfway line, 300 likes. It helps the channel grow, you guys. So make sure you're slapping the likes. Make sure you're subscribing. Big up to David, Abdullah, Hassouni, Michael, Allergies, Tyler, and Doug for the super chats. Big up to you guys. Make sure you're all slapping the likes. Make sure you're all subscribing. And let's just get to the results on the football pitch. The 4 results are as follows. I feel like 2 I want to group separately, and the other 2 I want to group separately, because I think they're more related than each other. When it comes to, I'm going to find myself an Arsenal. Look at this, guys. Big up to you, Doll, man. I'm going to find myself an Arsenal girlfriend too. You know what it is? I just don't think I could be with someone who watches football. I need someone who just doesn't watch football. Because when it's 2 a.m. and I've done 8 hours of work, I'm not trying to talk about football anymore. I actually
listen. We've got an expression in England which is a busman's holiday, and that's what it is. Sometimes it's everyone used to go on holiday in the UK. They used to go to holiday camps in the UK, and you'd travel there on a bus. If you were a bus driver, the first part of your holiday was riding a bus. Thus for busman's holiday. Yeah, it can be hard. The worst bit is when I get my mates, and then they just all want to talk football, and I sit there, I'm like, stop. I hate talking about football now outside of like the 8, 9, 10 hours a day I do it. Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
I'm so happy I'm going out with my friends later tonight, and not one of them watches a second of football. It's beautiful. They don't have to ask me any questions. Nice. So the 2 games that of course, let's start with the positives first before we go to the 2 losses. The wins against Wolverhampton Wanderers, which I think is a little bit less of a positive than the win against Forest, but you did start your season with a win and a clean sheet, and then of course the win against Forest. So just talk to me on the football pitch. What did you see positively from Man United's perspective?
In the Wolves game, almost nothing. There was almost 0 positives other than winning the game. It was a horrendous performance. The Bruno and Mount both pushed up high. Our fullbacks weren't inverting to cover, or one of the wide players didn't sit back. So we'd have both fullbacks go forward, both inside forwards up front, Rashford up front, the midfielders, and if we lost the ball, and we lost it in that opening game, we won possession that weekend more than anybody else in our opponent's half. But then we lost it, didn't capitalize, and then Casemiro's left there by himself. And that it was an horrendous performance, and it was one that started off a very weird notion of it's finished, Casemiro's done. And I'm sitting there watching the game saying, why are we over analyzing this? Can't you see he was left exposed? You know, he just got passed around and run around by fit, healthy midfield. So yeah, that was horrendous. No positives from that. In terms of Nottingham Forest, look, the opening 3 minutes were the weirdest 3 minutes I've ever seen. Man United.
That was mad.
I thought I was watching highlights. It was crazy. But after that, we were phenomenal. After that moment, we held the ball. We had to commit to get back into the game, but we didn't I was worried we would overcommit early and leave ourselves open and vulnerable like we did against Wolves. And we didn't do that. We had really good balance, got our goals back. We probably should have scored 3 or 4 more, and we won that game through in a very good way. But of course, it was marred by the opening 2 goals. It was, but you leaked 2 goals at the beginning. And I'm like, yeah, we did. And that was, so again, there was loads of positives, but it was highly frustrating to have conceded those 2 goals, because if we'd have won 3-0, you could have gone, right, brilliant performance, build confidence, media off our backs, we move. So it was really good in loads of areas, but the start was horrendous.
Those first 5 minutes, I still remember I was doing one of my hate-alongs. Actually, Force have given me two good moments, the Chelsea one and the United one. The first 5 minutes, I was wearing my sunglasses, I was smoking, I was so happy. And then it just all collapsed. With Chelsea, at least Forrest got the job done. But I think it was lucky to come back. It's in the English Premier League, whether people like it or not. Maybe it's probably 2 teams that you could do this against, but the rest of the league coming back from 2-0 down, I think it's been rarely done anyway, so it's not something that's a regular occurrence. But I heard you speak about Onana there, and I saw the video you posted with Neji and Staffy's argument with the whole Onana, De Gea thing. I'm going to be real. As much as I want to crash on Onana, and I have done, I don't think it's fair to say De Gea would have saved that. I generally don't, because if you're saying that the De Gea version of 17-18, it's a different one to the one we saw last season. That's the thing. I think they're 2 completely different versions, because there is a fall off from David De Gea. If you say Courtois, Alisson, like maybe saves that, you could make that argument, but that's the best of the best. Where do you land with this whole Onana, De Gea, maybe a little bit of revisionism going on with the keeper position?
Man United, listen, I expect it from rivals. Every goal that Onana concedes, I expect it to be over. You remember the goal against the first goal that Forrest scored and he kind of fell down? People are like, what's he doing? I'm like, well, you know what he's doing. The player dummied a shot. So the goalie went to try and save it. As he noticed it's a dummy, he tries to get back to his feet and he falls. And he still, by the way, nearly saved it. It's one of those things where we've all seen goalkeepers rounded and dummied before. Let's not act like, again, that's some weird phenomenon that doesn't happen. Would De Gea have saved that shot 5 years ago? Yeah. 6 years ago, I would bet a lot of money that he would save that. He was phenomenal. But last year we saw him in the last 2 or 3 years. He has let in so many goals that were so simple to save. To suddenly rewrite history and say De Gea would have saved that is a lie. The media are pushing this hard. They're doing it. The media are also pushing that it was Ten Hag that ruined Maguire. Like he was brilliant before he arrived. So I'm not buying into this. The goalkeeper, listen, is he ever going to be as good a shot stopper as De Gea was in his peak? No, I don't think he is. But there's probably only one or 2 goalies in the world right now that are, and Alisson's probably one of them. And Courtois when he's fit, probably. De Gea was so good at his peak. However, we saw against Arsenal what the goalkeepers come in for us to help us play out more from the back. And I've not been. He has conceded 7 goals, but you have to go back and watch the games. What more, in my opinion? I don't look at any of those goals. Maybe barring the first Nottingham Forest one, if he didn't get dummied, I can't see what he does about any of those goals not going in. I really don't. I'm not looking at any of those goals and thinking, oh, that's awful. It's gone right through him, gone through his legs. It's been our mistakes, really, in other areas of the pitch that have let him down. So I've been quite happy with his start, if I'm being honest with you. But I am nervous every time a shot goes at him. Not for him, as in he's going to make a mistake. But if it goes in, it's just going to be more shit online. Like, I can feel that pressure as a fan. But yeah, Onana's good. Onana's good. And look, if De Gea was as good as all these people rewriting history are suggesting he is, why is he without a club?
I knew you were going to say that. I don't even know why he's without a club.
Bro,
I don't think.
Do you
think it's negative PR on him where he doesn't even allow to get the club?
In reality, in football, no one cares about the PR. Like, they know what's going on for real. Does that make sense? They're not stupid. When it comes to Man United, players like Donny, players like Sancho, players like Martial, players like De Gea that are suddenly being written up as, oh, it's not their fault they're where they are. Where are all these brilliant clubs coming in to buy them? No one wants them. More clubs wanted McTominay and Maguire this summer than the others. And they're awful. So what does it tell you about these ballers, top players? It means your eye test is shit, bruv. You know what I'm saying? It means we've all failed. And I got suckered in by those players too. They were great talents, but they've fallen so far. No one wants them. No one wants them. And if they were as good as you're saying they are, top clubs would have come in from Italy, from Germany, from Spain, from England and bought them. But no one wants them. What does that tell you? Yeah, these are players that are listen, I'd love Sancho to turn it round. Can't see it. By the way, I'd love Anthony to turn it round. Can't see it. This isn't about hating on individuals. I'm just being blunt. There's certain players in my club who are past their best or physically finished or never quite been good enough for whatever reason in the Premier League, and they've got to go. And we do this every single time we struggle under managers. We did it to LVG, Jose, Oli, and now we're doing it to this manager, where we rewrite history and pretend previous signings were good. After Fellaini left, it won him back. After Mata left, it won him back. We keep doing it again and again and again. Zlatan slows us down, then he's out. Oh, we need him back. We got rid of Lukaku, dog shit, crap, donkey touch. Does well at Inter. Oh my God, we let him go. Have we let him go? We let Smalling go. He gets into the Serie A team of the year. Oh, did we make a mistake letting him go? It happens every single time. It's so embarrassing to watch these Man United fans rinse, repeat the same shit every single time we struggle, and they're never right. These people are never right. It's crazy.
I can't believe I genuinely, as a football fan, can't believe De Gea's without a club. I thought like some club would have swooped him up, whether even be a mid-table Premier League club or like even like maybe a club in Spain or a club even in Italy or somewhere. You know, you could see De Gea still performing for a top club. So it was a little bit shocking. But hey, if he was, that's where Terry is, right? If he was that good, he would have had a club already. So it's levels of good we're talking about. I don't think De Gea is shit or anything, but the fact that he genuinely has no club right now is even shocking to me, even as a rival. I'm shocked about
it. Comes down to with him and all the players I'm mentioning, it's different reasons. By the way, I still think if Sancho goes to the right club now, he can have a brilliant career because there's talent in there. Anthony Martial is physically shot to bits. Donny van der Beek, I think he might be able to rectify his career somewhere else. His technical ability, he just ain't suited to the Premier League. It's too quick, too powerful, too strong for him. When it comes to David De Gea, the problem is everybody now wants goalkeepers that can play out from the back, and he hasn't got that skill. And I believe not being able to play out from the back is why his goalkeeping elements faded, because he started to lose confidence. And when you start losing confidence in the way it's a mentality thing. So yeah, I was convinced David De Gea was going to go Madrid. Yeah. I mean, listen, he's better than Kepa, by the way.
That's the thing. That's the thing. He is better than Kepa. I
would re-sign that. If someone said to me now, you're going to get Kepa or De Gea as your number one, I'd re-sign De Gea over Kepa 110%. I'd do that. Yeah.
No, I'm gonna be sorry. That part was shocking. Right? Like how Kepa managed to get the move to Real Madrid is insane. But now, speaking of, we've got to talk about the negatives, because the positives are 6 points out of 6, and at the start it's about performances. Big up to Abdullah, says Mabruk, Husam and Terry for both of your streaming records. Proud of you guys. Keep it up, brothers. Thank you once again. I'm humbled by all your support. Abdullah, big up to you. Thanks so much for the super chat. The rest, I'm going to get to them in a second. Big up to HM and Tad. Man United's 2 losses. Once again, two losses against 2 big 6 teams away from home. That's kind of one thing that I think is a constructive and objective fair criticism due to the sample size.
Yeah,
like the whole losing to the big 6 clubs away from home. Spurs, the 2-0 loss away to Spurs, the 3-1 loss away to Arsenal. Where do you land with that side of things?
Spurs game was a game of 2 halves. We were the better in the first, should have taken the lead. In the second half, they upped their game and they outclassed us, and they scored their goals. And it was disappointing. That second half performance, just shocking. Arsenal, I felt it was such an even game until their goal, and then after that they got the third. I think the scoreline flattered them slightly. I think if either team had won it, I don't think you could call it an unfair result, but we did really well in large parts. But you often have there's areas to improve as well. But we were very good in large parts, and I think that because of the Wolves' performance, the defeat to Tottenham, the 2 early goals to Forest, when you play like we did, but you don't get a positive result, it's very easy to go, there's nothing positive out of this game, but I don't necessarily think that's true in reality. But we still saw our flaws. It is in the club as a whole. When we brought on Hojlund, we looked better. If we'd have had an Amrabat in that midfield, either starting or coming on, we would have fared better. And the fact that we've got Varane out injured, of course, Martinez, where he had the operation in the summer, he had a knock. We only found this out after. He had a knock midweek on the leg, and they were umming whether he could play. And then he knocked it again during the game, and they took him off as a precaution. Turned out no damage done. He can go off to international duty. It's funny how the United fans got angry about that. I'm like, hang on, but you're the same fans who say that when Rashford plays with an injury, we turn around and go, that's stupid of him as a player to do it. He's an idiot for doing it. The player comes off because he might have an injury. You're moaning that he came off and ended up not being injured. You can't. This is what I mean by we've got a lot of dumb fans in our fan base. Well, not dumb. That's not the right word. They're hypocrites. When it's a player they hate, they'll attack him for staying on when he's injured. Or when it's a player they know we need on the pitch and they rate and he comes off when he thought he was injured, they moan about that as well. It never makes any sense. They're hypocrites. But yeah, so look, there was positives to come out of those games, but you have to look at the negatives too. That our record away from home against the top 9 that finished in the top 9 last season was the reason why we finished third, but we weren't in the title race. If that record was better, if we'd have won 2 or 3 of those games away from home and drawn a couple, we'd have been in that title race last year. And I think that's what's got to change this season, because so far we haven't been beaten away. We haven't been beaten at home by Nottingham Forest. We haven't lost away at Luton or anything like that. Listen, Chelsea have had a worse start than us, and I'm not trying to point score here. Like, they've lost to West Ham and they've lost at home to Nottingham Forest. We've lost away from home to 2 teams that everybody's raving about right now. However, I want us to stop that happening. We need to, at the very least, Fergie had a rule, and I stand by it to this day. And it's probably changed a little now because football's moved on. But he used to say that he wants to beat all of his main competitors, the top 6 at home, and at least draw with them away. And that's always been like my minimum expectation. I want to try and draw away as a minimum against them all and beat them all at home. And if you can throw a few extra wins in away, you're laughing. And we need to improve on that. The difficulty now is that one of the easier games away against the top 6 is Spurs, and we lost it. Away at City, away at Liverpool, away at Newcastle. They're really, really hard games. Away at Chelsea, that remains to be seen whether it's hard, because let's see what Chelsea do to improve. Last year, it wasn't. I don't know if it will be this year. And it also depends who else is inside that top 9, because if you look at I was looking at and it does get manipulated. When we beat Fulham away from home last year, they were like 5th or 6th in the league at that point. If you look at the current top 9, Forest are in it. We beat them away from home last year. West Ham, actually, fairly, the top 9 now, we only beat one of them away from home last year as well. We didn't beat West Ham away from home, didn't beat Brighton, didn't beat Palace, didn't beat Brentford. So we've got to improve on that, and we have to. And I think that's literally it. And once we improve on that element, then I think Man United are away. I think our home record will remain very strong. I think against the bottom 10 teams away from home, I think we'll win the majority of those games. And I think once the Hojlunds and the Amrabats have settled, and when we get over this little injury crisis, we can definitely improve. The problem more so at Man United right now, mate, is all the stuff we've got happening off the pitch. I think that's going to become a big distraction on the pitch, because especially with what's come out today, and I know it's your channel, so I'm not going to speak about it in detail because you never quite know when those pesky YouTube admins come in with their moderating flags. But that stuff, and you've seen the stuff that's come out in the news today, that can impact what goes on the football pitch, the sale of the club. You've got the Sancho situation now as well. It's almost like me and KJ say this all the time. We just want one normal day as a Man United fan. And do you get where I'm coming from? So, like, right now, I want to focus on just the football, but I personally find it really hard because I'm like, the off-the-field stuff's actually more important. Because if that's broken, we're never going to succeed on the pitch. It's like any workforce in the world. If there's something wrong behind the scenes, the performance out there with your customers or your clients or in front of your fans is always going to fail. And right now, like, that's my biggest fear. I think that if we can clear up some of this mess, and that might mean Sancho going out on loan, it might mean the bloody suspension of another player. I think if we can do those things, get the new signings into the first team, and just focus on the football, then I think we'll improve. But there's so much wrong with the club. It's definitely impacting us on the field of play. And I know a lot of people will say, nah, I just think it's on the manager, Terry. And look, maybe that's what you think. But for me, we've had problems like this so many times over the past 10 years. Man United fans' default reaction is to always blame the manager the most. Always blame the manager the most. And I remember being on your spaces, bruv, and I'm like, if we sack the manager but don't fix the underlying problems at the club, we're back here in 18 months. And it feels like we're 1 or 2 losses away from being exactly where we were. And I'm not someone that likes to say I told you so, but I did tell everyone that yes, you can blame certain things on the manager, but the underlying problem of our club remains with how we're run. That is what generates so many of our issues. And until we make it run better, what happens on the pitch is always never going to quite be where we want it to be. And the fact that fans still have not woken up and smelt that coffee is mind-boggling to me, Husam. I'm absolutely flabbergasted that manager conversations are happening more so than board conversations. Again, by the way, for possibly the 6th time in 10 years. It's crazy.
It is, and you touched there on a lot of what's happened off the pitch and the form away from the big six, at the big six. Sorry, HM, I'm gonna get your super chat in a second, but there's 2 super chats here that I want to address, because it's kind of the same topic. Terry, why is it United sitting back and playing counter-attack versus big teams? That's the United Ten Hag wants to play. Don't say you don't have the players. That's the first part, because it's kind of related to what you just said. And Tad saying, always backing my manager, Eric Ten Hag. Sancho is a wimp. Because you touched on both topics, so just with the thing that kind of Sam said there, big up to Sam for the super chat and Tad. With the thing Sam said there, the style of play away from home, your thoughts on it, and we can go to the Sancho topic now since you've touched on it as well.
So again, it's an interesting talking point. It really is, but that's the Man United way. Typically, Man United, under Fergie, under Sir Matt Busby, away from home against big teams, play we call it transitional football now, but counter-attack. That's how we play. So again, Man United fans that are crying about this, you obviously didn't fall in love with this club for any footballing reason. Maybe you started supporting us just because we were winning, and you never really focused on how we did it. But Barcelona have a style of play as a club, Ajax have a style of play as a club, Dortmund have a style of, Man United do as well. And one of the things we do away from home is we absorb pressure and we counter-attack. But having said that, you look at the game against Tottenham, they only had 5% more of the ball than we did as a team. And they're playing a very, very possession-based style of football. You go and look at the Arsenal game, and they ended up with more of the ball than us by 4%. However, in that first half of the football match, Man United had 55% of the ball. And you can argue we didn't break Arsenal down, but that was on Arsenal. Sometimes Arsenal just didn't let us. Arsenal reacted to us having the ball, and they sat deeper. And then we didn't execute certain things particularly well. There's a lot of balls we tried to play that didn't quite come off. Loads of balls that went into Martial that bounced off him, like throwing a tennis ball at a wall. And if you had a striker that could hold the ball up and bring his players into play, bring his teammates into play, it would have been different. So we're not giving up that much possession. We're not absorbing that much more. Last year, we were criticized for having too deep a line. This year, our defensive line, I think, is playing about 10 yards higher up the pitch. So the football will progress. But I said this last year, and I'll say it again. Man United would never, you'll see what Spurs have started off brilliantly. First 4 games, great. But I don't think they'll win anything this year. That's not a dig. I just don't think they will. Man United have got this. United could change their style of football, but it takes time to change a culture of football at a club. But our manager's trying to do it in a way where he's going to win whilst integrating something new. And you'll see when Amrabat and Hojlund, possibly Mount, as he's signing, to see what happens, are all in the team, that we're going to try and play a slightly different way to we saw last year. But don't be surprised if we go away from home and play counter-attack football. The manager himself has said, I didn't play the same football at Ajax as I did in Utrecht. I didn't play the same football at those clubs as I was doing in the Bayern B team, because those clubs have different philosophies. Man United have a brand of football and a style of play that he is being told that he has to coach into the team. And that's how most clubs work. I don't mind that style of football. I personally don't have any issue with how we play football. I have an issue with our mentality in the big games away from home. It isn't our style of football that has stopped us winning away from home against the top 9 teams. In a lot of those games, it was execution and taking chances. Again, against Arsenal, we had 4 Garnacho's goal was written off. We had 2 or 3 times where Rashford was cooking on that right-hand side and set opportunities up in the middle. We didn't take them. Against Spurs away from home, we had 2 or 3 golden opportunities to score in that game. We didn't take them. against Liverpool when you beat us 7-0. We should have been a couple of goals up before you scored. So just using the only games last year, genuinely, where we went away from home and I felt we were absolutely battered was Man City for the whole game. I'm talking Man City, Newcastle, and Brentford. The other games, we were in those matches up to a certain point, and then we collapsed. That's not style of play, that's mentality. But again, Man United fans, what have we focused on every single time a manager's failing? The club's style of play, and never the mentality, never the most important bits, never the bits that get
passion and the desire.
But it's true, and it's not even passion and desire is part of it, but it's almost we lose our shape, we lose our minds, we fall out of position. That's what costs us far more. We sit too deep. We even did it when we scored against Arsenal at the weekend. We were playing well. We actually managed, the first time we forced them into a mistake, got the ball to Rashford, scored. What did we then do straight after the kickoff? Sat too deep. If Christian Eriksen, and you saw the manager, there's footage on the Man United that I've seen come from Man United, where the manager is screaming, get up, because Eriksen sat too deep. If Eriksen's where he's meant to be at the edge of the box, Odegaard don't score.
Because he's not there to begin with. Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, or he can intercept the pass, or he can block the shot, or he makes it hard for him to shoot the way he did. That's a mentality issue. You sit deeper like I've played football. You sit deeper like that. It's almost like, I'm going to sit deep, and at least I could look like I'm defending. We panicked. We didn't stay cool. That's what needs to improve more for me than the brand of football. I don't personally. That's not really a big issue as far as I'm concerned.
And, we touched on it slightly. Big up to Tad Bakes, who says, I back my manager. Before we do that, 700 people are in the building. Make sure you're all liking the video. Make sure you're all subscribing. We're approaching 300 likes, which was our primary target. So please do hit the like button. Do subscribe to the channel. Jadon Sancho. Mr. Terry. I actually watched the terrace, and I heard what Staffy said regarding the whole Sancho situation. It's like, free my guy Sancho. Today, as I'm sure you saw, probably scroll through Twitter and stuff, and you saw the whole, with the whole Jadon Sancho situation. Oh, some people are saying he has a bad attitude and blah, blah, blah. Here we go with the kind of the character defamation of Jadon Sancho. So where do you lay with it all, this whole Sancho and Ten Hag kind of drama going on? Yeah,
of course. Look, I think Man United's attempt now to assassinate his personality is a disgrace. It's another disgraceful move from my football club. You don't need to do this. You don't need to leak to the media that he's shy in certain areas or uncooperative in others. I don't think that's needed. You can be a great person, but not a great trainer at training, or you could be a great person and a nice person and be late to work. The way they're trying to paint this picture that Sancho is a bad person, I'm not comfortable with. That's I think it's point number one. Do I think the manager's dropped him because there's issues in terms of following instruction, both in training and in games? Yeah, I do. I've always felt that. That's not a new feeling for me. People will always go, why does Anthony play more than him? They've both been trash for us going forward overall. But Anthony keeps his shape, gets back and defend, works hard, doesn't pull out of tackles and challenges. So therefore he plays more. It's just not a debate, I think, that goes beyond that. Everyone that's taking it further. And yeah, I think Lee Gunnar made a good point the other day that maybe Sancho's challenged him in training about it and have had a bust up, and that's why he's out of the team. But it will still boil down to the fundamental points that he's not meeting up to a certain standard. I then see the count, Rashford's pulled out of tackles, or Rashford don't track back. You're right. But Rashford banged in 30 goals and 11 assists last year. If Sancho does that, he'll get away with not always keeping the shape. However, not too many players can. You might get one player in a team and get away with that every now and then. But generally speaking, you've got to work hard. So there's no, again, I also don't believe that the manager should treat every player equally. In terms of how you treat people on a human level, yes. But not when it comes to a professional level. It's bullshit. No, that doesn't happen in any walk of life. The top performing music artist at a music label is definitely getting treated better than the person who fails to hit their sales targets or fails to make an album that bangs. They're definitely getting treated better. I know we live in this world now where everyone wants like equal opportunity, equal outcome. No, equal opportunity, absolutely. Equal outcome is partly based on you, and equal treatment in terms of how you're perceived professionally, the benefits you're given, the bonuses you're given, the leeway you're given should be based on your performance. If KJ works tirelessly for me, If he has a day where he's got to leave early, or he's like, bro, sorry, me and the missus were out last night and I had a bit too much to drink and I've overslept by half an hour, I'll tell him not again, but I'm not going to drag him too much over the coals because he goes above and beyond for me. If I have someone that's literally always like just about doing enough or not quite doing enough and they're late, I'm coming down harder. I don't care if that sounds wrong. It's the reality of the world. It's the reality of the world that we live in. And I think that there's so much in this argument now that's getting taken out of, Man United fans that love Sancho lying. Casemiro said he's the best trainer. No, he didn't. I didn't need to hear the clip, but then I went and found it. He was asked who the most skillful person in training was. Ironically, he says Sancho and Anthony. He didn't say he was the best trainer. The fact that you're now kind of making up lies or twisting the truth to defend Sancho is weird to me. This is a very simple case of, and the final point would be the manager should not have spoke about it publicly. I don't like that. That's on the manager. I'll criticize him for it. Sancho, equally, in my personal opinion, shouldn't reply publicly. Two wrongs don't make it. I don't care if people go, NBA players do it. Couldn't give a fuck about netball. Couldn't give a fuck about netball. Don't care about that sport one little bit. That is not how I think it should be handled. And I think the manager's got it wrong. The players got it wrong. Now the club is getting it horrendously wrong with allowing this information to be leaked and to be printed. And it's a disgrace they're doing this to Sancho. So just because it's Sancho, and by the way, because Sancho hasn't performed for me on the football pitch, it doesn't mean I'm going to tolerate poor behaviors towards him, because it's about having the right standards of a football club. So I don't want Rashford mistreated by my owners, but I don't want Sancho either. It doesn't matter that Sancho don't perform like Rashford. I want them all treated the same. Does that mean that I think Sancho is turning up to training on time, given he's all following instructions 100%? No, I don't think the manager's lying about that, because there's no logical reason for him to lie about it that's going to help him improve the team. So look, for me, mate, it's an absolute colossal mess that needs to be resolved. Part of me feels sorry for Sancho. It absolutely does, especially with what the club are doing. Another element of me is like, I can't believe so many fans are turning on the manager. But again, it comes back to how my club is run, and it's a fucking cesspool. Sorry to swear.
Here's the thing. I agree with what Terry said there regarding Ten Hag. And this is what Murad's pointing out. He's saying, imagine making a public statement at Pepper Ferguson. Ten Hag has no personality. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened. This is where I think Ten Hag deserves criticism, because all he had to do was just give some generic, boring-ass answer that every manager in football history has given. Oh, Sancho's not here for tactical reasons. Sancho got a slight knock in training, or whatever. Like, people, this ain't the first time that managers have lied about a player not being in a squad. Like, just say one of the usual generic dumb statements that every single manager has made throughout history. Why not do that? Don't you think that's constructive?
I generally agree with that. The only time I say no is if this has happened on multiple, say in 4, 5, 6, 7 games he hasn't followed instructions. Say in multiple times in training he hasn't done what he's meant to do, and it's got to a point where the manager's like, I need your ability on the pitch, but because of your lack of dedication or application, I've had enough and I'm telling the fans the truth now. Then I understand it. If it's a one-off, or one or second time, it's first or second time it's been done, you're right. However, Pep and Fergie have spoke out about what players have said and done. They have done it. Fergie did it about Rooney. He absolutely did. I've seen Fergie in interviews rip into people.
Yeah, but that's Alex Ferguson, though.
I've seen Pep and his players do it. However, yes, they've got more credit in the bank.
Yes.
But at the same time, this is what I've been talking. This is not a Ten Hag issue for me in its entirety. I've been talking about this for years. I didn't like what Jose was doing at the club. I didn't like how we were playing. I didn't like the direction we were going in. But when he wanted Martial and Pogba out, I said, we have to protect Jose. You've got to protect the position that they sit in. The position always has to have that level of power. Unless the manager's misusing that power internally. And if he is, then you sack him. But at the same time, if he's not doing anything wrong, you can't allow this to happen. You have to, because if we allow player power to, if they turn around now and just let Sancho stay and the manager starts playing to me and we're done again, another manager's finished, because the rest of the players will lose respect. So this is bigger than just Sancho and Ten Hag for me. This reminds me very much of the Martial, Pogba, Jose dynamic. The way fans have reacted to it is absolutely identical as well. And what's scary for me is the club nor our fans have learned from those mistakes. We back the
If you become like
then,
Chelsea when it comes to player power, it's a long day for Man United. It's a long day. If you become that bad, like.
And do you know what's interesting about it for me? It's this case of Chelsea's player power issues and everything, and changing a manager regularly worked when they had a financial monopoly over everybody else. And when they had that core that they built with the Lampards, Drogba's, Terry's, Czechs, ever since everybody else got money and FFP became a thing, that way of operating has slowly but surely led to Chelsea going 6 to 7 years without a title challenge. Yes, I know they grabbed the Champions League 3 years ago, and they deserve that. But every Chelsea fan worth his salt said the same thing. Bro, but that paper over the cracks. And Chelsea people still go, they get lauded for their high standards and being ruthless and sacking people. It's barely been working for a decade for them. And it's, if you look at the difference in time between it, like from when the money situation changed until now, and the distances between title challenges, it grows. And you can win cups when you're in. We've seen relegation teams win FA Cups. So you can win a trophy when being a bad.
Yep, Wigan Athletic.
You can win trophies being a bad team. Not always, but you can. You can win trophies being a good team, but you can never challenge for the title unless you're a very good team to a brilliant team. So, especially in England. So the fact, if you're not in title races, your team isn't brilliant. It's as simple and as straightforward as that for me. So, yeah, Man United fans need to just wake up and look at the situation and forget what we're doing. And I understand it, people. What we're doing is we're going, oh, I love Sancho. Oh, I don't really like Ten Hag. Oh, I love Ten Hag. Don't really like Sancho. We did it with Pogba, Jose Martial. Take the emotions out and think about the actions, the ramifications, and the history of this happening at our club and what took place after. Me and Lee had this argument a few weeks ago when he was saying, this is the irony. He wants the manager to call out the problems in the club. Now he's saying the manager shouldn't. The irony is crazy. But he turned around and said, I don't want someone.
You called that as well. You called that Lee Gunner would switch it up. You called it.
Yeah. And then when I called him out on it, he went the other way and actually then changed his mind and said, actually, I think the manager's lying altogether. I was like, oh, all right, funny. But I knew he would say it. But this is the thing for me. I said to him then, I don't want someone doing what Jose did. And he's like, oh, why? Why? I said, because look what happened with Jose when he won 2 trophies in his first year. After he started mouthing off, what happened? We went into our longest trophy drought ever. The team and club fell apart, and it's still not back together now. So why would I want the same thing to happen again? It's honestly, it feels like King Canute sitting at the shoreline of the sea, demanding the tide goes out. That's how stupid I think we look as Man United fans. And we're allowing it to happen. It's so crazy to me that, and they are. United fans will let this happen, and I'll be sitting here in 18 months, 2 years' time again saying, I told you so. Told you so. Been right. Imagine being right about something 5 times on the bounce and still not getting listened to when it comes to, because everyone's so desperate to get into manager in, manager out conversations, because I think it gets more traction online. That's all it can be for me now. It's all it can be for me now.
I don't know if you even run out of managers to talk about at this point, because if you go Mourinho and you go down every single route there is and it still doesn't work out, like God Almighty, there's definitely a problem there. So kind of final segment, because I don't want to keep it for too long. Just quickly before we go there, big up to HM who says Salah Suarez scored the most EPL non-penalty goals in a season. Dixie Dean scored 60 goals in a season before. Haaland scored 7 pens. Top in big chances missed, 28 inside the box. I think my argument is probably a bit stronger for the Ballon d'Or thing, because he was not clutch for City, in my opinion, in the big games. Semi-finals, no goals, no assists. Finals, no goals, no assists. That's something that I think is a genuine, constructive, objective criticism. How come you've got 0 goals, 0 assists in these big games? But hey, we'll see. I think Messi is just going to win it. Bro, the moment he lifted the World Cup, it was over for everyone. What do you think, brother? More than 7 or less? Deep hit. We had number 14 of Fabinho. Now we have Soboslai, Machin, and Gravy. I'm saying more. If they lose more than 7-0 to Man United, Lord Almighty, what I'm going to do is going to be so obnoxious. Terry's probably going to block me. Big up to you, allergies. But look, speaking of the 7-0.
Got beat by Liverpool again like that. I don't know if I'll be able to show my face for a little while. I honestly won't be able to.
Send me the link. I'll do the post-match one. I'll actually do the post-match one if we win 7-0. Big up to everyone who's here. Almost 800 people here. Concurrent viewers keep going up because of you guys' support. Big up to you guys. Make sure you're slapping the likes. Make sure you're subscribing to This Football right now. Please do hit the like button. Do subscribe to This Football. Keep supporting the channel, my lovely people. Everyone who sent in a super chat to get a shout out at the end. Love. And speaking of the 7-0, speaking of when we face you, it's time just for the final kind of segment / question. Man United headed into the future after this international break. So after the international break, it's Brighton, and then it's Bayern Munich away. And then I do think you have like an easy 2 run of games, 3 run of games after that. So where do you see United headed into the season? And this kind of relates to what Doug said earlier on as well.
Yeah, do you know what? I think it's important for us to beat Brighton. We lost to them at home last year. So it's one of those, as an individual isolated game, you can say, right, we've improved on last season. It's a tough team as well. We're not playing at home to Luton or Forest or, Bournemouth. It's a must-win game for us, but it's a tough game. So to win it, there'll be confidence out of that. You're beating a decent team. Bayern Munich away, I think most people are going to just look at that as we're probably going to lose because they very rarely lose at home in the Champions League. But it's one of those games where I don't want us getting battered. It's like, be in the game at least. Then we're away to Burnley. I hope Burnley are playing like they have been so far because we'll beat them. They've been so open. A team like United will cut through them. And then it's 2 home games against Palace in the League Cup and Premier League. Again, we should win those matches. Home to Galatasaray. And then before the next international break, home to Brentford. So a fair number of games for us. And honestly, league-wise, I'm demanding 12 points. I'm demanding 4 wins from 4. For me, I want us to win all 4 of those Prem games, beat Palace in the Cup. And listen, if I don't want to lose to Bayern Munich, I'd love to get a win or a draw. But as long as we don't get battered and we win those other games, I'll kind of take that. I'll look at that and go, good start to the season. If you have 12 points by then, added to the 6, we've got 18 points. I think that will put us somewhere near the top 6. I would only be a point or 2 away from the top, like the Champions League positions. But yeah, I expect that. I expect us to beat Brighton at home, Palace at home, Burnley away, and Brentford at home. They're good teams, some of them, but I expect us to beat them. I really do expect us to get 12 points. 100. Like, I don't see why the expectation should be any lower than that.
Okay, I actually agree with you. I do think Man United will do well after the international break, bar Bayern Munich. I really think Bayern Munich will win, and I don't think that's even a crazy opinion to begin with. But we just have to, last question, to just talk about the final, the kind of the opposite scenario, because you did discuss Ten Hag and the fan base and etc. And I'm not sure if you guys seen it, but there is people, like actual match-going Man United fans as well, who have turned on the manager already, which I think it's too early personally. But what if the reverse happens? What if you have a disastrous run after the international break? Forget the fan base. Do you think your club would sack Ten Hag as an institution?
I don't think they'd sack him at this point because typically it's if you miss out on Champions League football that the Glazers get rid of you. Or like with Ollie, it was a case of we were so deep in the mud that season. If he was to lose at home to Brighton, get battered by Bayern, go out the League Cup, drop points to Palace, you'd have to draw or lose the majority of those games, like Ollie was doing in that period where he got sacked, and get battered in a few of those games to lose his job. So again, a few people are saying they've clipped up what I've said. I didn't say we're going to win them all. I said I expect us to. So again, when you come back to me in a few weeks when we win 3 and draw 1, you go, you said you're winning them all. No, I didn't. I said I expect us to. We also got to hope some injuries come back as well. Like right now, Varane, Shaw, Mount, Mainu, Diallo, Malacia, all that. We could do have a few of those players coming back. But I'm confident we can turn this around. But it's more about handling these off-the-field issues. What's ever going on with Sancho needs to be resolved. And if he's not happy to be here or the manager doesn't want him, get him out. Get him out now, because as much as I don't dislike him, he'll become a problem in that dressing room if he's not playing and he's not wanted there. Donny's the same situation. He's been told he's not going to play. Get him out on loan somewhere. Remove him from that dressing room so you can focus on the people that want to be here and that you want. But look, I don't see the manager getting sacked just yet. I don't think the team's in as big a turmoil as some people are the team is. The club's got a lot of problems off the pitch that it needs to work on and get resolved very, very quickly indeed. The team can be turned around, but if we don't get those problems fixed, that's more of a concern to me than the injuries or anything else, because it will transpire on the pitch. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I am nervous. I'm not going to lie. I'm not sitting here like confident going, I will definitely win these games. We'll definitely turn it around. We have to resolve those issues. And if we do, then I expect these results to start coming in, because we've got the players that have won these games before. So why not? We've added to them. So, if we've added Hojlund, Amrabat, Mount, Onana. The younger players are a year older. We beat a lot of these teams last year, especially Palace and Brentford at home. We should be beating them this time. For me to say I expect to win in those games, and people think that's weird, strange to me. Strange.
Yeah, you should be definitely, listen, Brighton have had a fantastic start to the season, but you should be expecting to definitely beat them at home. I don't even think that's an edgy opinion at the slightest, to be honest with you. I don't even think that's like a little bit edgy. That's 100% a real opinion.
I think edgy would be saying we should smash them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think we should smash
Or we should beat Bayern 4-0 away from home.
Yeah, that would be, of course.
Yeah, that's edgy right there. Big up to Ashraf says, how come technical players like Di Maria, Alexis, Mata, Depay, Sancho, Pogba, Mkhitaryan, Kagawa, all of these have failed at Man United? Staffy is right. United somehow ruins these technical ballers since Fergie left. Damn.
Well, Matt didn't foul at Manchester United, but let me ask everybody this question: barring Di Maria, that you'd put, and he didn't leave because we ruined him. He left because he never wanted to come to England in the first place. So let's remember the true story. What has Alexis Sanchez, Memphis, Pogba, Mkhitaryan, and Katawa done since they left Man United? What have they gone on to be? I know Mkhitaryan got to a Champions League final last year, but no one's been raving about this guy for years. Like, what have these guys been tearing it up at one of the biggest clubs in the world? Everybody going, wow, look at them. Memphis was in France for however many years doing well, goes to Barca, gone straight away. Like, none of these. Pogba, I know it's more his body, but his body's let him down. Like, tell me what these guys have done. Since he came in, didn't do so well, went back. He went back to Dortmund, didn't even get back to his right level. Like, I don't think it's about Man United ruining these players. I think what sometimes happens is you go to Man United and these players suddenly get put under a spotlight and a lot of them can't handle it. I would say that the Pogba situation, we didn't build the team that was needed to get the best out of him. Di Maria, we should never have signed. Alexis Sanchez, we should never have signed. He only came to us for money in the end. Memphis was the one that I feel like we mismanaged. So I would put Memphis in that category, but I still don't think it was as good as everybody said. Kagawa and Mkhitaryan, they were like, Qatar was okay under Fergie. Mkhitaryan was awful, but both with us and with Arsenal. So yeah, for me, I think people are, again, rewriting history here, talking about these players were brilliant before they came and have all been brilliant after. I know you could look and go, well, we ruined them. I don't think we ruined them. I just think with a lot of them, they weren't as good as everybody thought they were.
In the words of Mourinho, look where they play, if they play, how they play. It's as simple as that. I think the one guy on that list is Depay, and Di Maria, definitely they did well outside of Man United, but Alexis fell off. Mata, I don't even know where he is. Pogba, I ain't even seen him play since then. And Kagawa and Mkhitaryan, come on. He's back again. He says, also, why hire a manager like Ten Hag based on possession style in Ajax, but then have him play counter-attacking style of football? I don't think he was necessarily forced to play that by anyone. Like, he chose.
No, but this is the thing. So Man United have a style of play that they do, and we have always counter-attacked away from home against bigger teams, but against everybody else, we pretty much have the majority of the ball. So again, when people turn around and say, about how much of the ball we have, it frustrates me because I sit there and think to myself, what are you guys looking at? What are you guys actually talking about? So last year in the Premier, I'm just looking at like last year in the Premier League as an example. So in terms of the most possession, City on top with 65%, then Liverpool 60, Brighton 60, Arsenal 58, Chelsea 58, then Man United on 53. That's both home and away. Do you know what I mean? It's like we're not the highest possession-based team, but we're not the lowest possession-based team. Does that make sense? We actually had more possession away from home last year in general than we don't. So yeah, you could argue we could have, if we had 3 or 4 more percent possession, 3 or 4% more on average, we'd be in the top 2 or 3 teams in the league. So again, I just think it's overstated that we don't have possession. We don't have as much as City, but nobody does. They have about 5 to 7% on average more than any of the other teams in the top 10 of the league in terms of possession. So I don't know. For me, it's all kind of, I don't know. I just don't look at it too much as much of an issue. Does that make sense? It's just,
yes, yeah. I hear you. We have more possession than Arsenal. That's mad. When I heard that list, fair enough. Liverpool, big up. Even with that shit team, we still had more possession. That's actually mad.
This season, City. This is what's great. Chelsea this season have had 70% of the ball. Wow, so far. City 67%, Brighton 64%. Man United are still 6, by the way, and 51%. But it's crazy. So what happens is you've got literally Spurs on 59%, Arsenal 64%, Brighton 64%, City 64%, Chelsea 70%, and then Man United the next highest on 51%, then Wolves 51%, Liverpool 50%, Newcastle 49%. So yeah, like we're not. There's a gap between those teams so far this season, but you're looking at 4 games. That will equal itself out. Man United will probably get better by 3 or 4%, and some of the teams above us will probably drop by 4 or 5%, and it will put us there.
Chelsea's definitely dropping 100%. Chelsea ain't gonna have 70%. I think this stat, like or team stats like this, I think probably 10 to 15 games is probably a better sample size, maybe 15 even. So you could just balance it out naturally. A big example for us would be Felipe Coutinho. His career at Liverpool has not been great. His career after Liverpool, has not been great. Did well to get. Oh, we didn't just do well. We robbed Barcelona. Thank you,
Yeah, so
Barcelona.
I'm going to make the argument you guys ruined him. So after we left you, he was rubbish, right? That's ruining a player, right?
Listen, thank you, Barcelona, because you created, big parts of our success. Big up to you. Somehow you paid that much money for Coutinho, so I'm a publicly thank FC Barcelona for all the money they paid us. And it's crazy because for a period of like 2-3 years, every single summer there was like an extra clause in there that we got like an extra 7 million for or something. I have no idea what they were smoking when they signed that contract, Doug. But hey, the game's the game. We robbed them and they can hold that. But anyway, we're gonna wrap it up here. Big up to David, big up to Abdullah, Hassouni, Michael, Allergies, big up to Tyler Jones, W's in the chat for Tyler Jones, big up to Ashraf, W's in the chat for him as well, Murad, Sam, Doug, Tad, and him for the super chats. Big up to everyone who's shown us all the love and support. Make sure you're all slapping them like buttons, make sure you're subscribing. Tonight at 11:15, inshallah, we've got our 4th review, Liverpool review with James Redmond, so stay tuned for that one. And I want you all to just stay on this video, don't go anywhere until the video is ended, because it will straight away redirect you to the stream that's happening on the Football Terrace with Big Steve. Straight Facts today with Big Steve is on, so make sure you stick on this video, and as soon as it ends, you'll be teleported straight away to that video. Make sure you hit reminder on that video as well, so as soon as they start, you can listen to Big Steve cry about Manchester City again. Big Steve, my new rival when it comes to Straight Facts. So Terry, thank you so much for coming on, my brother. It's been an absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Where can people find you?
Of course, find me on the Football Terrace. So go and search that now. Go and subscribe, or just on any socials at Terry Fleurs. You see my name on the screen, just my name together at Terry Fleurs. Go and give us a little bit of a follow. Appreciate coming on, mate. Really good conversation, and we'll see you on Straight Facts tomorrow, brother, on the terrace at 3:30 p.m.
3 p.m. tomorrow. So
3 p.m. tomorrow. So 3 p.m. tomorrow. Yes, sorry.
3 p.m. Yes. So same Straight Facts that you're gonna watch with Big Steve, guys. Tomorrow, inshallah, 3 p.m. I'm gonna be on there as well. So big up to Terry. Big up to everyone in the chat. I will see you guys later on today, inshallah. Peace out.